One doesn't expect to find a historic home among the towering hotels and condos in historic downtown Fort Lauderdale. It seems out of place, but it is the heart of Fort Lauderdale because the man who built this mansion founded Fort Lauderdale. The Stranahan House was built by Frank Stranahan in 1901. The house would host several of Stranahan's businesses, a ferry service, post office, and trading post for both white settlers and Seminoles. Ivy Cromartie was his wife, and she was the first school teacher in Fort Lauderdale. Frank set about expanding the house after the couple married into 2.5 stories. The first floor had his office, a parlor, dining room, and kitchen, while the second floor had 6 rooms, a master bedroom, 2 smaller bedrooms, a sewing room, and 2 guest rooms. And there was a bathroom up there as well. The whole house was constructed from Dade County pine, with verandas on both floors. That pine no longer exists. The house was ahead of its time with indoor plumbing, running water, and electricity. Frank eventually was told he had cancer with 6 months left to live, and he fell into a depression. He became suicidal and was sent to an asylum. Ivy was desperate to have him brought home so that he could die in peace there. She petitioned the authorities and they let him go home. And then she watched him like a hawk, never leaving him alone because she was afraid he would attempt suicide again. One day she left him alone outside for just a moment, but it was long enough for Frank to tie himself to a heavy metal object and drown himself in the New River. Ivy turned their beloved home into a boarding house to make ends meet, and she eventually leased the first floor to a restaurant. She died in her sleep in 1971, and the restaurant continued to run in the house until 1979. When it closed, the house was given to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, to which Ivy had been a lifelong member. The church sold the house to the Fort Lauderdale Historical Society, and it was restored to its 1915 look on both the interior and exterior and opened as a museum. The house is said to be haunted. One spirit is believed to belong to Ivy's sister, Pink. Pink's husband had gone away on what he called a business trip, and Pink was pregnant and didn't want to be alone, so she came to stay at the Stranahan House. She had lost 3 previous pregnancies. She ended up losing this one as well after she heard news that her husband had left her for his wife, whom Pink had no idea existed. Pink hemorrhaged badly and refused to go to the hospital, and she died in the parlor. 2 orbs are seen traveling together at times, and it's surmised that this is Pink and her unborn child. Ivy's brother Albert was a black sheep of the family who enjoyed carousing around, gambling, drinking, and sleeping with ladies of the evening. One of the latter gave him TB, and he died from it in the Stranahan House 6 months later. His spirit manifests as a bit playful but inappropriate at times. Albert has yelled, "Get out," on EVPs. His spirit isn't the only family member here. Ivy's father, Augustus Cromartie, became ill, and she had to move into the house where he died. This is today the gift shop, and his presence is felt in there. He doesn't like change, and he will throw things like books when displeased. Sometimes he will make the shop ice cold. And then, of course, Frank is here. Both visitors and staff have seen Frank's apparition in the house, but he's also seen jumping in the New River in a residual manner. Ivy's spirit is still said to be in the house as well. Nobody is sure who the spirit is that helps out on the stairs leading up to the attic. They are narrow and can be dangerous, and many times staff have felt a cold hand on their backs, steadying them on the stairs. Occasionally, the scent of a perfume that Ivy wore is in that area, so some people think that she is the helper. If Ivy gets upset with someone, she tends to blow in their ears. Otherwise, she's very pleasant. Ivy had taught Seminole children, and a story claims that a young Seminole girl showed up on her doorstep one day and passed away. Her voice has been picked up on EVPs. She not only answers questions, but she likes to sing and chant. The girl has a sweet tooth and likes candy. She'll take candy out of a jar that sits on Frank's desk in his office, and staff will find it piled up in the attic. The Stranahan House is very unique in that it is built from all wood. It's an extraordinary historic home. But is it haunted? That is for you to decide.